Well, last week when he was asked, Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, refused to rule out having a tilt at the leadership. And as I said before the break, he's on the front page of this week's New Statesman, putting out his pitch. And Sacha Lord, who was with him, he's an entrepreneur and former nighttime economy advisor to Greater Manchester and to Burnham, said this. He said, "I don't have faith in the current leadership, who has recently shown a lack of judgment and loyalty. The Cabinet is, again, far too London-centric, having promised more power to the regions, which now seems to be just shallow words. It's apparent the current Chancellor has no interest in hospitality, the UK's fifth biggest sector. Her national insurance increase was both reckless and short-sighted. A fish rots from the head." When he joins me down the line, Sacha Lord, good evening. He's coming. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
Yeah, very well, but these are pretty damning words about your own party.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why, actually. And I said yesterday on Twitter that this year I'm not going to bother attending the Labour Party conference. It's the first time since I've become a Labour Party member. I was a Labour Party donor. And simply, I spent many, many months talking to what were then the shadow cabinet before they came into government. And they were telling me what they thought I wanted to hear. You've mentioned Nighttime Economy Advisor. I'm still the chair of the Nighttime Industry Association. Hospitality is the fifth biggest sector in the whole of the UK, Nigel, with the third largest employer. And this government have let us down so badly. We are now seeing more closures than ever before. We're losing a pub a day because of this government, because of the way they're taxing us, the national insurance increase that nobody saw coming, by the way. That was the final nail in the coffin. We're now touching £6.50 on average for a pint. I'm hearing in London,
tell me about
£8. And we're being crucified. Do you know what the profit is on a pint?
Sacha, I know all about the price of a pint. You're talking to the right person, believe you me. But, I mean, are you suggesting, and it seems that you are, that a change of leader with a new Chancellor is what the Labour Party needs? Are you saying that Andy Burnham is the man for the job?
Well, I've not mentioned Andy Burnham. The media picked that up yesterday. I mentioned the current leader, and he is not right for the party. And I have to tell you, the amount of Labour members, the amount of Labour councillors that reached out to me privately yesterday to say, do you know what? Thank God that somebody has actually spoken out and said what we are thinking. And it had to be said. That is the feeling at the moment amongst members.
No, I'll ask you one more time. Given your association with Andy Burnham, do you think he's the right man for the job?
And again, my response is I can't speak on behalf of Andy Burnham. What I can say
I didn't ask you to. I didn't ask you to. I want to hear from you.
I spent 7 years with Andy Burnham working extremely closely. What I like about him, and you've met far more politicians than I have. What I like about him is he's different to many that I've seen. He's the same person behind the camera than he is in front of the camera. And he cares for people. And I've seen that in action. That's what I like about him.
Okay.
Obviously, he's the mayor of Greater Manchester at the moment. So there are things, that would have to happen for him to run for leadership. He's not an MP. But he's a good person. The things he's done for Greater Manchester have been incredible. They've been fantastic. He's transformed it.
OK, Sacha, I'll take that as a non-endorsement. Yes, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I quite enjoyed that. And let's just have a quick look at the New Statesman front page, just so my panel can see it and you at home can see it. There you are, the picture, the style. Jeff, it's all happening, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Oh, come on, come on.
And the reason it's not happening is because just over a year ago, the British people elected a Labour government by a huge majority, and a large part of that was the leadership of Keir Starmer. because he represented a real break with the past, a real break with the Conservative Party that had had leader after leader after leader.
True.
The British people simply will not understand a political party who's changing leaders like they're changing their shirts. It's not going to happen.
Look, well, he does. I mean, let's be fair, Kwasi. I mean,
we had lots of leaders.
How many leaders you had?
5. I mean, they all.
I bet you can't remember.
I was loyal to all of them. I never signed any letters. I never put any letters into the 22. But look, the point isn't whether you think, Jeff, that Keir Starmer's the right man. The point is that lots and lots of people in the Labour Party, in your party, are saying what Sacha are saying. And Andy is clearly limbering up for some form of challenge. I mean, I saw this with our 5 leaders. We had lots of people who were waiting in the wings. And I remember Theresa years ago, I think it was 2014, all of a sudden there was a picture of her on the front of Vogue or wherever it was, or she had the interview, all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid when I look at that and see that, I think this is somebody who's clearly chancing his arm and fancies a pop at the top job, regardless of whether you think Keir Starmer is the right man and has got the mandate and all of that. That's what's happening at a political or a personal level. And I think Andy he's not showing loyalty. I think he should be a team player. I know him. I think what Sacha said about him is true. I think he's a personable guy.
That point was powerful. He's the same person in public as he is in private.
And I dealt, when he was Mayor of London, I was Secretary of State for Business. Yeah. I had dealings with him, and he's a very personable guy. But what's happening now is he clearly sees that there's weakness. There's a lot of disaffection in the Labour Party about the leadership, and he's essentially presenting himself as an alternative. I mean, it's pretty blatant.
It's pretty blatant.
My question, my actual belief, is that it won't make any difference. Because whether it's Andy Burnham or Wes Streeting or Angela Rayner or whoever, they are stuck to the policies that the government has outlined. They're not suddenly going to reduce taxes.
I mean, Jeff made the point they want a thumping majority, and under the system they did win a thumping majority, but it's been the worst start for any government since Subbitz.
Well, largely because we inherited a dreadful situation.
No, but they made mistakes. You made mistakes. I mean, the winter fuel payment was a totally self-inflicted error.
I'm not pretending. I mean, I think back to 1997 and 1998, and I'm sure Tony Blair would concede that we made mistakes.
But your
during
honeymoon
that
period was extraordinary, and your Prime Minister, your leader then, was optimistic, popular, positive, incredible orator. He didn't need notes. And this guy, just over a year in, it got a hollow look to him. Doesn't even look to be enjoying it.
I think he's had a much tougher time than we had between 97 and 98. Actually, the economic situation we inherited was probably much better than we thought, whereas actually the inheritance this time has been much worse than they thought.
No, but they had self-inflicted mistakes. I mean, when they came in, there was a measure of goodwill, because everyone said, the chaos of the Tories and all of that. He came in, and the first thing he did was he did a deal with the unions, and then to pay for that, he took away winter fuel payment from 10 million pensioners. And they defended it for 10 months. And it was only when they had the disaster of the local elections that they did a U-turn. But of course, the political damage had already been done. So there have been lots of mistakes that they've done, which have essentially landed them with, 22% in the polls?
But he doesn't look happy in the job, is the point I'm making.
I'm not sure that's right. He's also dealing with a whole range of international issues very, very effectively, and has won lots of support for the measures that he's taken. So I recognise that criticisms we just heard from an entrepreneur, from a businessman about raising national insurance and so on.
In the hospitality and entertainment area.
Right. But what he demonstrated, I think, was a one-sided view of policy. And Kwasi, who was a former Chancellor of the Exchequer, he knows that every time you pull a lever in the Treasury, something wrong happens somewhere. Yeah. You can never take a decision on taxation without upsetting somebody.
But that was my point about the replacing the people. Replacing Keir or Rachel Reeves with Labour Prime Minister, Labour, they're not going to change anything. No. It'll be exactly the same.
Well,
they're on exactly the same path.
They've certainly got into trouble pretty blooming quickly. Now, in a moment.